I'm WG, and while everybody likes to talk about Yuki and how she needs to get a buff, how about we actually talk about buffs that the devs have introduced on the down low? So now, while you might think that these don't really count, these are buffs to your items, which means they're also buffs to your characters, like for example how the very first item in the very first row now gives 5% extra attack damage, meaning that your Beryls, your Hugos, your Veronicas are massively benefiting from that, even though you might not see it as such. And if you just want to know my general opinion on the likelihood of the developers buffing characters, I don't think they're gonna be adverse to it. They already confirmed there's gonna be no nerfs, but that doesn't mean they won't be able to buff characters. Like for example, you could consider this obviously indirect buffing, but there could also be more direct ones. Then again, I do not believe Yuki is so bad that she really needs a buff, otherwise she would be trash, right? Like, Yuki is better than you think. So how about we take a look at this list of around probably 50 items to kind of see what are like the standouts, what could be the favorites of these, you could say buff wave. And yeah, we started it off with the second method, you know it, and it gives you now 5% more extra attack, so every ranger rejoices. Then we have the Mountain of Corpses, which gives you attack card damage for the first attack card used every turn, and honestly a 25% attack increase going from a 15 that is getting close to a 50% increase. That is nothing to sneeze at and could be incredibly powerful on characters that don't play a lot of attack cards, but like really, you know, go in, like for example how you could run this piece on a Haru. Then here we have the military grenade, the rare item. It just deals more damage to all enemies at the start of a fight, or no, whenever you use an upgrade card. It is honestly fine. The obsidian sword is one of the big winners here, because it just increases your damage dealt by 12%, and this doesn't have a turn limit. Picking up the obsidian sword to make any of your chaos runs easier, or even to keep it on your character for your save data, this one is definitely an item you should keep your eyes peeled for. Then we have the Crimson Sword, which now does 3 agony instead of 2. Can obviously be quite fun on characters that rely on agony like a Chesser, but I would say this is a bit minor, and in general it's not too worth it to pick up the Crimson Sword unless you get it for free. Then with the command you get 40% attack card damage once per battle, meaning your very first card used every battle should have the biggest impact. Again, could be quite fun on a Haru, but it is a rare item, and rare items tend to be one per battle. Or I guess this one here is quite sweet. At the start of a turn, apply 3 weaken to an enemy. So if this is actually the true description, that means the next 3 attacks of whatever enemy this is applied to deal 25% less damage. This also works for a 3-hitter from an enemy. So this flashbang could actually be quite important, for example for the seasonal boss that is currently ongoing, that just does a ridiculous amount of damage and it doesn't even really take you anything to proc it. Bang that on a support and boom, negative damage. Then here we have the 2 damage reduction. Damage reduction being temporary makes this quite okay to take some light hits, but nothing too crazy. The counter attacks can be quite sweet in the early beginnings of a chaos run, but it's not too important. The amorphous cube now gives you, for the start of the battle, a 25% damage increase, which means you really want to make your turn 1 work. And I would also say that this pretty much just works for the first turn. I have yet to see this actually work elsewhere. And yeah, so what else do we have? We now then have the Grey Orb giving you 3 stacks of damage reduction, kind of the same issue here. The damage reduction, it just goes away after 3 hits, but honestly it's not too terrible. It's at least a legendary item. On Breakthrough, deal 150% damage to the target. It's a good weapon, but it's not something you should pick up. It's kind of something you like to get for free. Now the Eye of the Eyeless, 40% basic attack card damage. This might just be one of those pieces that you really want to search for on that Mei Lin whenever you get the chance to get it. The Radiant Orb just increasing your damage to shields. I mean, either you know what you're facing, right? You know you're facing Justice content, because Justice enemies always whip out those shields. or you're just playing the Justice Planet, otherwise this one feels a little too constricted in its use. Then we have our, when using an upgraded card, plus 30% damage for 1 turn from the Ring of the Seraphim. Now, the big question here is what it just reads like your character itself has to use an upgrade card, meaning you will be able to like trigger it maybe once or twice through a battle at most, and that only on like specific characters. I guess it depends. Here on Breakthrough, the 2 Impaired. Impaired is just reduced shields. So this one's also a bit of a unimportant one. The 20% damage, 20% shield at the start of the battle. Honestly, it's kind of whack for a legendary item, the Golden Rule. Then we have this one, the Dark Grip's Claw. Increases the damage from all attacks by 20% to now 25%. Now there's 2 scenarios here. And I think the Dark Grip's Claw come from the Blue Pot planet. Either this means all attacks are increased by 25%, which would be pretty damn crazy, all attack cards, right? Or this means all attack cards, right? Like all AoE cards deal 25% more. Regardless of it, this might either be peak on Yuki or peak on everybody. Upon defeating an enemy, 200% fixed damage is again whatever. Defeating an enemy refers to breaking an enemy, right? Breaking an enemy, ravaging them. When drawing a status ailment or curse card, plus 15% damage can be quite fun on someone like a Charon. But then again, you have to draw into it rather than create it. So it's definitely pretty damn niche. The increasing allied shield gain or allied shield gain could be quite fun on somebody like a Mika to like support the shield gain of your Magna Maribels or your Calypse. Then again, it is a unique item, meaning you can only have one of them. Then, or I guess this refers to like the blue rainbow items. If you have 6 or more cards in hand, 25% increased damage to Sword Reflected in the Lake. This should be from the green planet, I think. Yeah. I mean, it can be quite powerful if you have a bunch of retain units. Like, for example, let's say you run like Mika, Kalib, and then a Haru, and you slap that on a Haru. If you can have 1 or 2 retain cards, getting the damage bonus here, it is quite consistent and can be quite powerful. Same here with increasing the damage of attack cards costing 2 or more by 30%. Once again, kind of like this, yeah, Haru / maybe Kalib scenario as our only real high cost damage dealers. Could also see some play on Yuki, but then again it's once per turn and you would have to pick a specific Yuki epiphany for your card to actually be a 2 cost, so mainly referring to like the flash / upgrade. Now this might just be incredibly powerful. Like, for those of you that do or don't know, Vulnerable itself is a 50% multiplier to the damage taken of the enemy. You can get it through multiple ways. One of the most reliable ways to get it is by using Orlea and her softies. And increasing the damage by 35% further is kind of crazy, and there's no limitation on that. So long as there's vulnerability stacks, you're going to do a crazy amount of damage. So the Mask of Flames might just be a highlight piece that you could be looking for. Here, when using an upgrade card plus 30% damage for 1 turn, it's kind of the same thing that we already saw before, so it's kind of same things apply. Damage dealt to shatter target increases by 30%. That is damage dealt to broken enemies, so could see some play on characters that either attack a lot or just like damage, you could say tenacity damage synergies, right? Mainly, again, Malin comes to mind who could make use of this, with it being a unique item. The unique pulsating egg. Now, this one could be incredibly crucial, and because that is a 15% attack bonus that, as far as I can tell, should be multiplicatively applied after all your other attack bonuses from your character's base attack, from your character's gear and everything put together. So this might just be the biggest damage increase that you could gain from a singular item. And as far as I know, this is also on the ring slot. So the pulsating egg, I think it's either bug or the Order planet. I'm not quite sure, but it is certainly powerful. When taking damage, inflict 4 agony on the attacker. I guess situational. the plus 18% attack on breakthrough ally stress -1. I think this is like if you break an enemy, you then gain an 18% damage attack bonus and reduce ally stress. I don't know. The Tentacle of Chaos now though, the 8% ally attack upon enemy, no wait, I think this is separate, right? 18% attack and then on breakthrough ally stress. Yeah, this is actually, I mean, if 15% is impressive, 18% is obviously better. And then here, this ally attack increase, if you could just get that on someone like a Mika or a Ray, it makes it worth it to face the Tentacle guy if he ever challenges you. And then, let's see, what are the changes here? 8%, 58, which is the same. And now it reduces more stress at the end of the battle if HP is 50% or higher. I mean, more stress reduction can only be useful after you beating a fight where you can get this one and then just having a whole bunch of stress anyway. At the start of your turn after 4 turns, fixed damage. This one, honestly, it doesn't feel too good. Like, I have like 1 or 2 save datas with these Bibles. I'm not the greatest fan of the Bibles, especially because it kind of like takes turns to charge it up. And maybe this could go hard on the DPS, but putting it on a support just is a bad idea. Now, this is kind of crazy. The Executioner's Edge is an item you can gain from the Butcher, from a Butcher event in the Blue Pot, no, in the Void Planet, maybe even Blue Pot, but a 35% increase against enemies at 50% or lower health. That is pretty damn strong. That's like getting a permanent 17.5% damage increase if you were to think of it in like the whole HP bar, right? Like the 15 to 35% jump, that definitely should be kept note of. The when an enemy is defeated, attack card damage amount max 2 times. I'm not too sure. I think this also only works on the character that has it equipped. So again, Malin or like other characters that are like really good at breaking, especially on their respective planets, might come to mind. This start of chaos battles, right? Like, I don't think we're at the point where we have to build items based on enemy factions yet. The damage dealt to targets before they act can be really powerful, and that is on every single character that doesn't play a lot of cards. If your character doesn't play a lot of cards, if they are like just rather quick in what they do, it is just a 25% damage increase that has no conditions attached really. Like, that is pretty damn good. This one still too situational. 5 AP to get the bonus. If you don't have a Mika, how are you ever gonna pay that? When drawing a card, plus 20% damage for 1 turn, 2 per turn. Kind of fits like this Yuki, draw your card. Maybe Rin, maybe Malin, draw your card theme. But that doesn't strike me as too crazy. You kind of have like better seasonal items on the seasonal planet. Yeah, these are still like the normal increases. Damage of attack cast costing 1 or less, being 20%. This is definitely something to look out for on your Malins, on your, and obviously this one, right? This one is like the same item, just boosted. But this one is definitely something to look out for on your, this should be Bug Planet, so Instinct Planet. Definitely something to look out for on your Malins, on your Rins, maybe even on your, on your Yukis, honestly. The 6% per damage per enemy obviously makes more sense on AoE planets, otherwise kind of a waste. This one we already talked about. I mean, it's a bit of recovery, right? But usually you want to have the recovery handled by your supports. Starting from the second attack card, each turn increases damage. Yeah, it can be quite good, especially if you have a character that uses a lot of attack cards. So again, like, I don't know, your Malins, your Rins, your Chaerons. Any hyper carry DPS truly likes the flow of the Dead Souls, and something you can kind of reliably acquire in the Void Planet, even though obviously everything at the moment is mostly about that, about the seasonal chaos. The when a card is exhausted, increased damage plus recovery. I mean, look at this list, right? We've almost made it through. You almost made it through. Yeah, this one, I like to put that on like a Rin or somebody that can exhaust just for the recover, but the damage increase kind of gets wasted because I think it's, again, character specific. Some of these items would truly be way more interesting if their items were like a team-wide buff rather than a character-wide buff, but maybe that would also be too strong. The Eye of Gluttony, damage amount at the end of the turn, 30% chance to exhaust one card in hand. That is just so good. That's just a risk you have to take. Because the only downside here is if you had like retain cards. Sure, you then have a 30% chance to lose a retain card, but plus 40% of your damage to your damage amounts. That's just a good item. Honestly, when a card is exhausted, increase the damage of the next card by 25%. I think this might just be something that stacks team-wide, because like, let's say you exhaust a card and then you use somebody else's card. Then again, unconfirmed. Obviously, Void of the Devourer, same thing. 35% is actually a lot if this were to work on like a support like a Ray, who can exhaust a card and then boost your damage. Yeah, the Sacred Battle, it's not that great. If at max HP plus 40% damage, and if at max HP plus 50% damage, you know, this could go really nuts. Like, this could go really nuts on, for example, let's see, it could go really well on like any like kind of tank comp, any comp with the shielder where you can reliably heal yourself up a little with like a Mika and then a shield to stay max HP. Because keep in mind, if you kill something, which should be easier with the 50% damage bonus, they obviously can't bring you below max. The problem is the moment the fight takes longer, like 1 or 2 turns, it's gonna be a little cooked. Then on healer, recover fixed damage to a random enemy equal to 50% of recovery amount. I don't think that is a way to build a DPS Mika, but who knows? To all enemies. Maybe DPS Mika, you never know, right? Branch of Eternity. And then these ones are obviously the Order Planet. I mean, just the bottom one is just very solid. 12% attack and defense, reliable on any defense-based or attack-based unit, even on supports, and even this odd turn, on even turn, 12% attack increase is kind of huge, or on the odd turns for your defense-based characters. Overall, this is just a good row of changes. It is some buffs, it is some improvements to some of your characters, and you know what the greatest part is? There's not a single nerf in here, so the only thing this did is improve y'all guys' save data. Peace!